Have you ever wondered why hunger exists in the world if Allah is just and merciful? This is a profound question that challenges us to reflect on the purpose behind life's hardships. Often, when we witness others suffering or experience pain ourselves, it's natural to wonder why these things happen, why Allah allows hunger and poverty to exist. In Islam, though, we know that every situation has a purpose beyond what our eyes can see. And here's something interesting. While hunger may seem like an unsolvable problem, the Quran and the teachings of Islam reveal that even the hardest situations have meaning within Allah's plan. These circumstances prompt us to be mindful, to reflect, and to understand that our lives are interconnected with those around us. Sometimes, the trials we don't fully understand are the ones that help us grow the most spiritually, strengthening our connection with Allah. In this video, we'll explore some of the reasons behind this reality from an Islamic perspective. We'll look at how hunger and poverty are in part tests that call us to act, to give, and to draw closer to Allah through our acts of charity and compassion. We'll also reflect on the wisdom that can be found within these challenges and what Islam teaches us about facing them. Stay with us, because understanding these tests allows us to see Allah's purpose more clearly and to embrace our mission as believers. To understand why Allah allows hunger and other hardships to exist, we must first see how Islam approaches the concept of life's tests. Here's the interesting part. The Quran teaches us that every challenge has a purpose, a reason that brings us closer to Allah. It's not that Allah doesn't see the suffering, it's that these hard moments have the power to transform our faith, making us more aware of our dependence on His guidance and mercy. In the Quran, Allah tells us that this life is filled with tests, and these trials are like lessons that invite us to reflect and mature spiritually. In fact, sometimes these challenges bring us closer to Allah, reminding us that we're not in control of everything. Hardships, like hunger, don't only test those directly affected, they also test those of us who can help. This means that trials are a call for us too, an invitation to act with compassion and generosity, qualities that strengthen our faith and our relationship with Allah. So what is the purpose behind these tests? Islam reminds us that, although it may be hard to understand, every situation has a divine purpose. Sometimes, these tests teach us to value what we have, to be grateful for every blessing, and to recognize that our lives are in Allah's hands. They challenge us to trust in His plan, even when we don't understand every detail. Additionally, these trials prompt us to reflect on how we're living our faith. Allah watches us, observing how we respond. Do we act with mercy and justice? Or do we simply ignore the suffering of others? Think about this. If life were perfect and free from hardship, would we truly strive to help others or draw closer to Allah? The presence of hunger and other trials reminds us of the importance of compassion and justice. Every act of kindness we perform is a direct response to these tests, and it's an opportunity for believers to show the strength of our faith. That's why Islam teaches us that, even when we don't fully understand the purpose behind each test, we must trust in Allah's wisdom. It's a reminder that by living with patience, gratitude, and compassion, we can overcome these difficulties and move closer to a greater purpose. Hunger, like any other trial, is not just a hard shape. It's a chance to put our faith into action and remember that Allah is with us every step of the way, guiding us through our responses and actions. So, if hunger is a trial that Allah allows, what role do we play as believers? This is where human responsibility becomes essential, and here's why it matters so much. Allah has blessed us with abundant resources and the ability to manage, share, and ensure they reach those in need. When we see hunger persisting in the world, it's a direct call to examine how we're handling these blessings. Islam teaches that Allah created the earth with enough provision for everyone. The issues of hunger and poverty we see aren't due to a lack of provision from Allah. Rather, they reflect how humanity chooses to manage resources. In the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, we're constantly reminded to be generous and just. In fact, charity isn't just a choice, it's an obligation. Zakat, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is a concrete way to redistribute wealth and assist those in need. And here, we see one of the believer's most profound missions. By fulfilling zakat and giving sadaqah, voluntary charity, each of us becomes a tool of Allah to relieve others' suffering. It's as if Allah is saying, I've given you what you need to live and to help others. Now it's up to you to do good with what you have. The issue of hunger isn't only a test for those who suffer, but also a responsibility for those who have the means to help. This call to charity and justice is part of every Muslim's mission. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself." This shows us that if we're blessed with something, it's not solely for our personal benefit but to share with those who need it. When we give and help, we're answering Allah's call, putting our faith into action and making a difference in the world. The next time you see someone in need, remember that you have the power to act, to be generous, and to reflect Allah's justice. Because in Islam, every act of charity is a way to honor Allah's will and respond to the mission He has entrusted to us. Every time you help, every time you give, you're part of the solution, and this is exactly what Islam teaches. Hunger in the world isn't just a test. It's an opportunity for each of us to demonstrate our faith and compassion. Here's something profound about hunger and suffering in the world. They aren't only tests for those who endure them, but also for those with the ability to do something about it. Hunger challenges us all. And, according to Islam, Allah allows these situations not because He wants us to suffer, but because within them lies wisdom that invites us to awaken compassion and responsibility in each of us. The Quran and the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, remind us that every human being has a purpose and a mission. Allah doesn't test anyone beyond their capacity, and often these trials help us discover aspects of ourselves we didn't know. Similarly, the existence of hunger challenges us to look beyond our own well-being, to take action, and to remember that Allah is watching how we respond to others' suffering. Do we act with compassion and generosity, or do we ignore the pain of our brothers and sisters? And here lies one of the most powerful lessons of this trial. Hunger awakens in us the need to show solidarity, to feel the empathy that truly makes us human. Through these trials, Allah calls us to practice justice and kindness, reminding us that we are all interconnected. The help we give to another is, in essence, a response to the mission Allah has placed upon us as a community, a call to act for the benefit of others. But there's another important perspective. Sometimes, the trials of hunger and poverty teach patience and resilience to those who endure them firsthand. These challenges strengthen their faith, reminding them that their reliance is not on the world, but on Allah. So even if we don't fully understand every aspect of the tests Allah allows, we know that each situation holds an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to draw closer to His wisdom. Therefore, hunger isn't just a test of endurance for those facing it, but also a test for those who have the ability to help. By responding to this test with compassion and justice, we are fulfilling one of Islam's highest principles. While we may not be able to change all of reality, every act of kindness is a contribution that reflects Allah's message in the world. So if you ever feel called to help someone in need, remember that you're responding to this test and to the mission Allah has given us, to be a reflection of His mercy on earth. We have discussed hunger as a test and our responsibility as believers, but now comes the most important part. What can we do about it? This is where Islam gives us a practical, purposeful answer. It's not just about understanding why hunger exists. It's about asking how we can respond to this reality in a way that honors our faith. Allah has given us powerful tools to make a difference. One of them is zakat, which is much more than just a donation. Zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and represents an active commitment to redistribute wealth to benefit those in need. This is where Islam shows its wisdom. Through zakat and sadaqah, voluntary charity, each of us has the power to alleviate someone else's suffering, turning our faith into a source of hope and change. But there's also something else we can do. Pray. Let's never underestimate the power of dua, prayer. Asking Allah to relieve hunger and suffering not only strengthens our connection with Him, but also reminds us that every time we act with compassion and justice, we are drawing closer to His will. Through our prayers and actions, we become an extension of His mercy on earth. Imagine the impact if each of us took this mission seriously. Even though we may not be able to end hunger entirely, every small act of kindness counts. Every time we give, help, or simply care about others' well-being, we reflect Allah's purpose for us. And here's the key. Islam teaches us that every contribution, no matter how small, holds immense value in the eyes of Allah. So how can we respond to hunger in the world? Start with yourself. Share what you have and nurture a compassionate heart. If you have the means to give, then give. If you can pray, then pray for those who suffer. And if you can inspire others to help, then do so. Because in Islam, every act of charity is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah and to remind the world that His mercy is present in each action we take. Instead of asking why Allah allows hunger, perhaps we should ask how we can respond to this trial with faith and action. Because in the end, when we act with generosity and compassion, we fulfill our mission as believers, showing that Allah's love and justice always have a place in our world. I invite you to reflect on this and consider how you can contribute. And if this message has touched you, I encourage you to share it so others may join in this mission to do good.